All right, so now we get to start having some fun by actually creating our first workflow. This is where I'm actually going to save time, do a bunch of roles in a few prompts. So I'm going to give you a bunch of examples of workflows over the next couple of days. We're going to start with something simple, then we're going to go into more complicated, then we're going to go to really complicated. Each workflow is going to assume the role of one task, and then it's going to completely do that task without me involved, but I need to prepare it the right way. You've prepared the MCP, you've created your skills, you've connected custom MCPs, and you understand projects now. Now let's get into our first example workflow, and then we will continue building workflows from here. So our first workflow is going to be a digital presence audit. This is going to be an audit that looks at the business holistically, online and its website, using the MCPs I have, and then it's going to tell me exactly what's wrong and areas of opportunities. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start with two connectors for this. I'm going to use the Firecrawl connector, which is going to allow me to scrape web pages, and I'm going to use the Duda web connector, which is going to allow me to actually scrape the website. And then I'm going to put that into an email, and I'm also going to put it into Slack, so that our team knows what the optimizations are that we need to do. So I'm going to start with a simple prompt, and then I'm going to show you how it's going to run that in one entire workflow. Okay, for this automation, I'm going to work with this customer as an example, which is one of our local customers. And this is my prompt. Remember, I'm using context, role, task, and the MCPs because I know it's going to use a lot of credits if it's going to call on, in this case, 3 different MCPs. So I gave it the context that I'm working with the customer. I gave it the role of who I am and why this is important. And now what I want it to do is I want it to scan their website, search their Google results, and analyze anywhere where they're listed and find inconsistencies. This is a really simple workflow that you can run within Claude to quickly find these levels of optimizations. This may not seem like it's a big deal to you if you're managing one website, but at our agency, we manage dozens, if not hundreds at a time. And so it's really important for us to be able to do this at scale, create a skill, and do it on a schedule. So now once I run that prompt, as you've learned before, Claude is going to connect to all of the different MCPs, and then I will return once we get a result. So once I have a return, I can look at some of the information that came back. Most suitably, the HTTPS is not forced. Local business schema is disabled. This is really important. Structured data is critical for how AIs communicate with websites. Multiple H1 tags on the homepage. Business email mismatch. This page isn't indexed. Title tag has stray and minor characters. So when I look at something like this, typically what my thought process is I can do 2 things. One is I can see if the MCP can just make these adjustments for me. Or 2 is I can confirm them in the actual site editor in this case to make sure that they're legitimate. Just by quickly jumping over to the site, I can tell you right now that this is correct. The SSL needs to be regenerated. You can see that there. So that's all set. Inside of the actual business settings for the schema markup, which is how AIs are going to communicate with the website, I can also see that this was actually never set. See where it says enable schema? That's got to be set. And then I can also see down here inside of the actual page that Claude was actually referencing that this page is currently no indexed. We've made this page months ago. And so this page likely just missed quality control and it was never indexed. That's really important because if we've invested time in actually indexing this page, we should be getting traffic for it. That's another page that we could potentially rank at the top of the Google search results. So this is a really quick way for me to look and see all of these different things that are currently wrong. Most notably is I want the AI to go ahead and fill out the actual business text as much as possible for this business. The reason for that is because when I enable the local schema, it's going to use all of this information to create that structured data. So going back over to Claude, here's what I'm going to prompt it with. Okay, so here's going to be my prompt. I'm going to have it first access the website, complete all of the business text for me that was missing, then go ahead and not replace any fields, so I don't want it to corrupt any work that's currently there, index that painting page, turn on the schema, republish the website, and adjust any tags that have that stray white space error that I found below. I'm going to run this prompt, and now Claude is going to talk to the MCP, and it's going to try to do as much of that work as possible. Ideally, you know the limitations of the MCP, so you know if it can do it, but sometimes I like asking anyways because it might surprise you. You can see that Claude's now calling on one of our skills, which is to add business text, so it knows exactly what to do. So I'm going to let this run, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so here's my return. It did the business text. It went ahead and indexed the painting page, rewrote the title tag and meta description, optimized the schema, did the title optimization for the homepage. It republished the website, republished the content library. So again, this is very technical work. When you're building your workflows, you'll know which tools are going to need to serve your purpose. But for us, this is what that looks like. Let's start with the painting page. This before was not indexed. You can see it is now indexed. It also did the same thing for the home page. Before there was some sort of weird spacing in there. Then furthermore, in the settings, it went into the business text and filled out all of the fields that it knew about the business. And it did this by accessing this business's unique creative brief that we do at our agency, which is a Google Doc. So Claude was smart enough to go find that because we have Google Drive connected, and it found relevant information about the business. And I can tell you, this is very accurate. So really, really nice to see. The only thing it didn't do very well at is in the business info, it wasn't able to actually enable the schema markup. So I'm going to do that manually. But this is where human judgment is very important. One thing it did do too is it actually republished the website like I mentioned it to. So after it made the changes, it then went ahead and republished the website. You can see it backed it up first and then it republished it. So it had the intuition to do a protocol to save something because it's an AI. So now going back into Claude, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run one last process for this workflow. And all it's going to be is I'm going to write a Slack message letting the team know what we did. I'm going to have it draft an email that I can send to JSON. And then I'm going to have it create a PDF as a report of what was completed and what the changes were. Okay, so here's my prompt. I want to go ahead and let the business owner know the changes I made in a PDF. Then I want to let the team know by posting a message in Slack. Then I want to draft an email to the client, but also to our team to keep the email short, objective, and clear formatted. So let's go ahead and run this. One thing you may have noticed though before I run it is I actually added a skill. This skill is going to take the data and put it into our formatting for a branded report. As an organization, this is important for us to have so we have consistency with the vibe coded stuff that we make. So let's go ahead and run that and I'll come back to the computer once it's all set. So all three deliverables are complete. You can see we got a PDF, we got a Slack message, and we got a Gmail draft. And you can see that it went to the client's email, but then it also CC'd the email that I want. On the right side, this is the PDF skill that we have at the agency. You can make your own, however you see fit, however you want it to look. This simply just uses our color assets, makes it really readable, etc. So here's the updates that we completed. Here is reasoning as to why those changes matter, and then just a small message about our continued optimization. This message was also sent in Slack, so as you can see, it came from my Slack account. If you have your Slack account created or your WhatsApp or whatever you're using for communication, it'll do it that way as well. Same thing, filled in the brief, index the page, confirm schema, etc. We're going to talk a lot about why putting data into some sort of centralized location that you can use in the future is important as much as possible. And then Gmail draft. So this was to the client. You can see it put the client's name, it put the title, and it gave a really solid description of what was done and then attached the PDF here for me. So then I can send this or I can schedule this however I see fit. I'm going to delete this because this is just an example, but that is this simple workflow I wanted to show you in this video. I'm going to be showing you a lot more workflows so you can get comfortable with this and so you can visualize how you're going to do this for your own use case or your own workflows. So with that being said, thanks for watching this video.